One of the toughest aspects of fighting games is defense. How do I block that mix-up? How do I avoid that command throw? Teching throws is too hard sometimes. There's a lot to deal with on defense, and it's no wonder that many players would rather rely on reflect, vanish, supers, and mashing to fight their way out. Sometimes you'll have to take risks on defense, but you won't improve past a certain point if it's all you do. If you're interested in leveling up on defense, then I'm here to help. Just like with my Neutral 101 video, this is too big of a topic to ever possibly cover in a single video. But there are at least several really important building blocks to defense that I can cover here. These are 4 things you should be doing on defense. First things first, reactions. I often hear people say things like, I could never defend in this game, my reaction times just aren't good enough. They talk about reactions as if it's a character stat in a video game, and as if it's the only thing that matters. But that isn't how it works in the real world. Some people absolutely have better or worse reaction times than others, but that difference isn't nearly as big or as important as you might think. What's more important to focus on is what you have control over that impacts your ability to react to something. Do you know what this particular overhead or command grab looks like? How many times have you seen it? Are you focusing on a specific spot on the screen that will let you immediately recognize the mix-up as early as possible? Or are you looking somewhere else, like at the ground? And have you trained the response that you want to have in this situation so it happens without you thinking about it? You've probably seen and maybe even recognized command grabs in time to react, but you'll still be too slow if you haven't practiced the correct response in training mode. If you have to actively think, is that a command grab? Yeah, I think so. What am I gonna do again? I should jump, right? Yeah, let's jump. Then you're gonna be too slow. That is too much in the middle of seeing the thing you're looking for and responding with the action you want. If you practice reacting and responding to specific things in training mode, then you can get rid of all the middle steps, so you'll go straight from seeing to doing. Also, keep in mind that reacting is mostly about looking for the right thing at the right time, and having practiced your correct response enough that it's automatic. This is why even though Piccolo's mix-up during pressure is all considered reactable, he's still difficult to defend against. The more things your opponent has to look for, the harder reacting to each of them will be. Next, know when an actual 50-50 is coming, and be ready to either guess or spark. If you know a 50-50 is coming, then don't be stubborn. It's a coin flip. If you always pick heads, your opponent might pick up on it, and they could always choose the correct option to beat you. Also, since 50-50s are coin flips, try not to worry too much about whether you're right or wrong. That energy is better spent focusing on how to avoid being put in that situation again in the future. What went wrong in neutral that led to me defending in the first place? Was there anything I could have gambled with before the 50-50 to stop it right before it became too late to do anything besides flip the coin? Oftentimes, 50-50s have clear drawbacks. You can guard cancel EX legs on reaction, which is the setup to either Gohan's 50-50s. And you can reflect Kid Buu's medium ball as a guess before it comes out. You probably shouldn't always risk your life by guessing in these types of situations, but if you're willing to occasionally guess on this extra layer that usually exists, then you'll see a noticeable change in your ability to defend here. Third, take note of what types of mix-ups your opponent is using throughout your matches. Nobody is perfect, and everyone has habits. If you realize that your opponent is leaning towards 1 or 2 specific options, then you'll feel more confident looking for them and reacting to them. Even if you don't know how to deal with the specific things that you take notice of, you'll remember those situations and be ready to go into the lab to figure out some of your options. If you notice that your opponent goes for left-right mix-up often with a cross-up instant air dash or a same-side super dash, you could adapt and guess with a 2H to beat both mix-ups the next time you find yourself in the same situation. Obviously, people won't all do the same things in the same situations every time. But everyone has habits, and if you can be mindful enough to pick up on some of those habits, then you can confidently take advantage of potentially big opportunities. The flip side to this point is that we should all aim to be more mindful of options we're using in general, and try not to autopilot habits that our opponent can take advantage of. This is a lot harder than it sounds, but it is an important part of improving as a player in any game. Finally, don't just focus on what you want to do, think about when you want to do it. There are many times when you can defend against multiple offensive options at a time simply by adjusting the timing of when you do something. Many of you might already do this without even realizing it while defending against instant air dash mix-up. We all want to block high when we see an instant air dash, since we don't want to get hit overhead. And this is why empty lows are so good. But the potential timings of the overhead and the low don't overlap. The overhead can only happen while the opponent is in the air, and the low can only happen after the opponent lands. A lot of people intuitively understand this already, so they'll switch from blocking high to low as the opponent lands. This is often referred to as a fuzzy block. The word fuzzy in this context means to delay an option. So fuzzy blocking is the choice to delay when you switch between standing and crouching in order to cover two different mix-up timings. Fuzzy options are incredibly common in every fighting game at a high level, and they give players a lot of unique ways to solve problems. Let's take our instant air dash example and try something else. Let's replace fuzzy blocking with fuzzy mashing. Instead of delaying when we switch from standing to crouching, let's delay a fast attack like a 5L instead. The goal is to time our attack after we would have blocked the overhead, but before our opponent can input their low attack. If they go high, we'll block it on reaction, as usual, and our button won't come out. If they go low, then our attack will come out sooner than theirs and punish the opponent. This is a lot more rewarding than simply fuzzy blocking the mix-up, and it isn't much more difficult. It is a bit riskier though, since you won't always have enough of a gap to have your button come out. So you'll need to know whether your opponent's assists are available or not before trying this. Do you remember the last moment of EVO Grand Finals when Goichi mashed and won it all? He wasn't just mashing. He was fuzzy mashing. Probably. A quick warning though, fuzzy options are definitely strong, but they aren't perfect. Don't rely on them too much or you might regret it. Nonetheless, this is an important concept for understanding how high-level players structure their offense and defense. I hope you can be creative when labbing solutions on defense. As I mentioned earlier, there's no way to cover the entire topic of defense in one video, so I'll definitely come back to talk about it more in the future. If you're interested in learning Dragon Ball FighterZ and other fighting games with me, then please consider subscribing to the channel or following me on Twitch to see when I go live. There's more on the way soon. Thanks for watching.